Oh baby, Nintendo's really got the ball rolling, announcing all sorts of February festivities, setting up the calendar for a super exciting sequence of awesome announcements and events. Good morning, Mario, and good morning, Switch fans. This is going to be fun because we go from rumors of a direct to, okay, Nintendo is now laying the blocks brick by brick to build a Lego Direct. The Deku Tree has not been announced, but it will be shortly. Anyhow, what's going on, everybody? It's Zach from SwitchForce. I know yesterday we covered a leak that ended up being fake, but now we've got direct Nintendo information lining up dates on the calendar for when we expect the Direct to be. And I know some of you are saying, well, they're announcing so much on Twitter, maybe there just isn't a Direct, and we do have to talk about that, because perhaps there is a world where the Nintendo Switch 2 announcement is actually closer than we think. Make sure to let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Let's kick it off with what they announced, all right? These announcements actually have a reason, okay? And I want to start with that. We were supposed to have a Nintendo Live event in Tokyo next month, and it was canceled due to threats. If you don't remember, they canceled it a few months back, saying like they got a bunch of death threats and threats on the event, which is really sad, a huge bummer, and just gross. Anyhow, they had to cancel the event, and a bunch of tournaments and orchestral performances that were lined up to showcase at the event. Nintendo has now announced that those, at least orchestra events, will take place online. We're going to have a Zelda orchestra event on February 9th and a Splatoon musical spectacular on February 10th. These will both air online, and so everyone can watch them. And even though we're missing out on the in-person event in Tokyo, Nintendo is going to try and salvage the week and still have it be a big Nintendo thing. And it's very interesting because this week would line up with an early February Direct. It also lines up, though, with Nintendo having announcements at Nintendo Live. So while we do see this Zelda orchestra, which is pretty cool, and this Splatoon orchestra, which is pretty cool, we also are getting an announcement of the Splatoon 3 Side Order DLC. Now this is the big DLC, the single player DLC, the one that looked ridiculously amazing when it was shown off in its first trailer. And after announcing the orchestral events, Nintendo pumped out a new trailer saying that Splatoon 3 Side Order will drop on February 22nd. Now this is very interesting because you'd think this would be saved for a direct announcement. And in fact, it actually lines up with a weird DLC announcement from 2023, but we'll get to that in a moment. I think that this announcement was actually planned for Nintendo Live. They had a Splatoon 3 tournament, Splatoon 3 music event, and then boom, they announced the Side Order DLC. There's nothing to say that Side Order can't still appear in the Nintendo Direct, especially because today's trailer, it's just kind of a vibes trailer. It's just kind of a strange Splatoon-y trailer that only Splatoon can do. There's no new gameplay. They don't really set up the scope of the DLC. There's really nothing else revealed except 2/22/24 as the release date. Early in the year, and actually lining up in February alongside Mario vs. DK to not have it take up its own month, but live alongside another Nintendo Switch first-party release. Now that's exciting because this DLC looks fantastic and it's a great another piece of content for Q1 for Nintendo Switch fans to gobble up. It is paid DLC though, so this isn't something that you're going to be able to grab for free even if you are an expansion pack online subscriber. You gotta pay for this one. And it mirrors a game from last year, as I was mentioning, with Xenoblade Chronicles 3. Last year in mid-April, they randomly announced that Xenoblade Chronicles 3 Future Redeemed would drop on April 25th. And it didn't make a lot of sense because at that point in the calendar, we were led to believe that Nintendo did not have a lot. So why a week before this thing came out, did they just announce it and then here it is and it's not tied to a direct, there's no big fanfare, and it's not holding down its own month? Even though the Future Redeemed DLC was a pretty hefty expansion and a large piece of content. Now, the same could be said for Side Order. It's a pretty hefty expansion, and we all believe it to be a large piece of content. If Nintendo is winding things down, why would they drop it in February and not save it for April, May, or June? Well, I've got news for you, because Nintendo just doesn't slow down. While I fully believe this is the last year of Nintendo Switch 1 proper, I don't think they're going to go out with a whimper. We now have no games announced for April, May, June, July. We have 2 potential titles in Luigi's Mansion 2 and Paper Mario, but those are not dated. And so you best believe there's going to be some sort of Nintendo Direct in February to confirm what is coming for Q2. We've got quite a bit in January, February, and March. That's really great. And now we have this week in February with a Zelda concert and a deep cut concert. We know when the side order DLC is going to be, but I still believe there will be an early February Direct to A, detail exactly what's going on in side order, and B, set the stage for April, May, June, July. Even if we're going to take Luigi's Mansion 2 and say, fit that in May, and say Paper Mario and the Thousand Year Door and fit that in June, you still got April, you still got July, you still maybe even have 2 games in one of those months, and Nintendo does need to set the stage for where those are. I've seen some people begin to speculate that maybe Nintendo will plan a Direct Mini for February instead of a proper Direct, but I feel strongly that they're going to unveil Metroid Prime 4, and I don't think Metroid Prime 4 and Mini really match up. I think if anything, that is a mega Direct, and Nintendo can definitely carve out enough different segments to deliver a full Direct, even if it's a little bit light on content. So I don't think in any way these orchestra, concert, and DLC announcements eliminate the chance of a Direct. In fact, I think they actually make a Direct more likely because it's getting all this stuff out of the way and indicating that there are empty months that Nintendo does need to fill. If there weren't going to be games that have yet to be unveiled, Nintendo would put side order in one of those months. It just makes sense to space your content out unless you have so much content you can't even space it out, which frankly should get you really excited. It gets me really excited. But I do want to touch on one possibility that we have to address, which is, what if Nintendo is getting this out of the way in favor of a Switch 2 February announcement? We've been hearing March as the day, the date, the month, the time for Nintendo to unveil their new console, and it makes sense given when we expect it to release and how long Nintendo likes to market things. But perhaps February is a better time. Maybe Nintendo actually is rushing these things out because they want to rush to the Switch 2 faster than we anticipate. Is there a chance that Nintendo instead opts to go for a hardware reveal in February and shows off Metroid Prime 4 aligned with that system? Even if it is cross-gen, they could get a big boost by highlighting how pretty it looks and how great it runs on a new piece of hardware. I think, in my opinion, it's about 80% Direct, 20% Nintendo Switch 2, but I fully believe that we will have a big Nintendo reveal in February. There is empty calendar to fill, and like we saw last year, even when people are trying to say, oh, Zelda's it, there's nothing else in the calendar, Nintendo made sure to reward us and fill that calendar. Even though they had a huge game launch with Tears of the Kingdom, they peppered in plenty of exciting titles for the fall and delivered a Summer Direct and a September Direct, as we knew they always do. And that's why I firmly believe there will be a February Direct, and if not, some sort of big hardware reveal that does tie into some game announcements as well. I think we are loaded up for a good week, and people are starting to gravitate towards that first week of February, given that the 9th is Zelda, the 10th is Splatoon, maybe the 7th is indeed going to be our Direct date. 7, 14, 21, these are dates to be aware of, although 21 being so close to side order maybe doesn't make a ton of sense, but at times they do like to just kind of give the trailer and say, it's out tomorrow, go grab it. That could be something they do as well. So to me, it's any of those 3 weeks. I think you can safely get ready for something big from Nintendo in February, and I think today's announcements just make that more likely than less. I want to tack on more info about Smash Brothers because I think it's crazy that they're continuing to update the game decently aggressively in 2024. They announced that there's new Spirit Board events for 13 Sentinels, Hades, and Power Pros, adding some more interesting games and third-party action to the ultimate Smash Brothers game. It's going very, very strong after including Tears of the Kingdom, Xenoblade Chronicles 3, Splatoon 3, Pikmin 4, now bringing in some other fan-favorite games from some other fan-favorite franchises and genres, and Smash Bros. Is on the move. Is there more? Is there a lot of smoke? Could there be fire for something in 2024 tied to Smash Bros. To tide us over? I don't really want to put any huge amount of faith in that. I think it's probably just these Spirit Board events, but it is interesting that they are revving the Smash Bros. Engine again. We know we've got Amiibo coming out, we've got Spirit Board events. Is there anything else? TBD. But right now I think this is really cool and another nifty nod to Nintendo fans from the company that just keeps on giving this generation. We are so darn lucky to have such a plethora of titles and such a prolific development period from Nintendo, and I think that only gets crazier with Switch 2. So I'll keep you posted as more and more comes out. We'll probably hear things from Necrophilippe, Pioro, and Nate Drake in the coming weeks, and hopefully we have a stellar show no matter what they showcase. I think it's going to be exciting times, and I am pumped as heck for February, now delivering the Splatoon 3 DLC as well. Let me know what you think of all this in the comments down below, everybody. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay happy, stay positive out there, and until next time, love you lots. SwitchForce out.